Episode 1 airs tomorrow, and I've told you all I don't watch the show because that's my family, that's kind of odd. But forever ago, I stopped watching the show because I didn't like what I saw. I was 12, and my absolutely incredible father, Kody, and my absolutely incredible to this day mother, Christine, were both doing great. And I didn't like me. And I kept seeing myself get worse and worse and worse. And I know to this day that the worst part of me, the worst part of my life, is what everybody will remember.
It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Friday, February 25th. You know who is going on a whirlwind of interviews? Paedon Brown from Sister Wives. It's kind of cool to see some of the kids actually going out and talking to the media and getting a sense of sort of like where they're at in their lives, because we just have not heard from some of these older kids. If you have been watching the show since the beginning, you know that when the show started, it was all about the kids and the families and doing things together as the kids. And as most of the kids are growing up, there's only a few left that are still at home. And so the dynamic of the show has shifted away from the kids to the adults, which for some people, they find it boring because there's just not as much family fun going on anymore.
It was really difficult for me when you got a babysitter, because my first thought was, why aren't we good enough? It's like, why don't you trust me with your kids? Why wouldn't you ask me first? I didn't get it.
Paedon Brown, I actually was looking at his TikTok and I noticed that he had this one pinned where it was talking about how he literally hated watching the show and that he didn't like watching the show because of how he looked at the time, because he wasn't proud. Like he said, he struggled with his image of how he looked and felt about himself. And so he doesn't like to go back in time and watch him on TV. And I thought that was like interesting. I've always wondered what it would be like to be a kid on TV and have all of your awkward moments. Like, you know, when you're, 12, 13, 14, and you're kind of still growing and you're not quite at the adult height and your body's just all out of whack, that period. And that's when so many of these kids were on the show. So I'm sure for some of them, they're just like, I don't want to look. We all have those pictures. So he has been kind of all over, and on his TikTok, he says, I don't watch the show because of this. And then he was on a podcast with Kate Casey. She does a reality show podcast a couple times a week. She actually interviewed Kody, I think last year. And Paedon was talking about how the family dynamics work and, what Kody's relationships are like with the kids.
What does the nanny do?
She asked him whether or not he has a good relationship with the kids, and does he have favorite kids? Like, how do the relationships work?
Do all the kids kind of get equal time growing up?
I don't think so, but he mainly tried to focus on the younger kids. When there was another one born,
she wanted to know if he could share time evenly with the kids, and Paedon said he doesn't share his time evenly. And in fact, Paedon said that a lot of the responsibility actually fell on his brother Logan. So this is what Paedon said. He said he mainly tried to focus on the younger kids. Then there's another one born. I don't want to say favorite, it's the wrong word, but favorite is the best example I can give with a new child he needed to protect. Kody has for a long time on the show talked about how the youngest children are the easiest ones for him to connect with. And then once they get older, he struggles to have a relationship with them. And I think it's for a lot of parents because once a child becomes a teenager, they just don't want anything to do with you. And I think, in my opinion, Kody really likes the attention and the adoration that a younger child is going to give to him. Especially when you're little, the kids love their parents and then they grow up and they don't love their parents. It's a part of growing up. You become more independent. You don't rely on your parents as much. So Kody seems to like that younger phase. He says it's because he wanted to protect the younger kids. I don't know if I agree with that, but Paedon was there and he lives there, so that's his opinion.
It's not. He still loves us very much. He still loves Logan so much. But Logan being the oldest child, not the youngest, kind of shifted. And it's not a problem.
In terms of Logan, this is what he said. He still loved us very much, but Logan being the eldest child, not the youngest, it kind of shifted. It's not a problem. He really wanted to help the youngest kids come into this world better. And then when we were all growing up, we all got to experience, we all got experiences with him. We all got time with him, but the youngest kids just got a bit more. So Logan, once the younger kids grew up, he had to take care of them. If you remember when they were on the show, Janelle worked a ton. And Logan, when he was still at home, would have to get the kids up every single morning. He'd have to feed them, make them breakfast. He was really like in charge, along with Christine, of managing and taking care of the kids. When there were dances, Logan would step in as dad, you know, like Valentine's Day dances. The girls would ask Logan to go with them, along with Kody. Logan, I think, had an unnecessarily large burden on his shoulders to help his father out. And as the oldest son, with so many sisters right underneath him, I think a lot of it fell to him to be the guy in charge. And I don't know that that's fair. That's parentification of a child. And a lot of people will say that that's not the best way for a child to be raised. A child should not have to take on the parental role of their siblings. So at least he spends time with the youngest children, which is interesting because now his youngest children are Solomon and Ari, who happen to be Robin's kids. And it's weird because Truly was only the youngest for a very brief period of time. And I feel like Truly never got the attention that she needed. But in terms of whether or not any of the kids actually want to be polygamous and live like they did, like their parents did, he said, no, none of the kids want it. He said, we are all super grateful for it. We have brothers and sisters. My mom didn't have any sons but me, and I have brothers because of it, and I'm so grateful for polygamy, but it's not the life I want. I honestly don't believe in it. So none of the kids want this, which I find is interesting. None of the girls want it at all, which again, I find interesting. You know, back in the day, the only girl that actually wanted it was Mariah. Remember that? Before Mariah came out, and she said that she would say for years wanted to be a sister wife, and literally now none of them want it. The only one before was Mariah, and obviously we know Mariah's not going to go down there. She is with Audrey now. So, you know, it's interesting. I think Kody, maybe he wants to control some of the younger kids to maybe have them go that direction. I don't know. But as far as the older kids, Paedon says none of the kids want polygamy. One of the things that he did ask, that she asked during this podcast, which I actually thought was kind of interesting, was about like how the authority worked with the moms and whether or not he would take, you know, direction from Janelle or from other moms in the family. Paedon really said that Christine was the primary caregiver, but even though Christine was like the primary caregiver of Janelle's kids, Janelle's say would still go over her children. So Janelle still had final say over her kids. So she was the top authority. Same with Robin's top authority of her kids. Mary's the top authority of her kid. But he said that the kids would still respect generally the other mom, particularly when it came to Christine. When it came to relationships with his siblings and like who he's closest to, he actually said that Garrison is his best friend. And so he's so grateful because his dad had other wives, and so he has a brother, Garrison, that's his best friend that he can talk to and share everything with. Christine was for sure under a lot of stress, but it sounds like Logan really did have to take a lot of that burden on too. And you know, even if Kody is spending time with the youngest kids, like how much time do you think he's actually spending with some of these youngest kids, especially when the kids were born so close together? So you had 3 little kids, Logan, Aspen, and Mariah, all born within like a year of each other. And then you had Maddie follow suit not long after that. I mean, those kids were all born so quickly together. And then you had other clumps that were born right by each other. So what is it with these younger, like how much individual time did they actually have with the kids? And do you think that because Kody relied so much on Logan, that they're going to be more inclined to have a closer relationship with Logan? You know, someone was telling me that Logan had said that he didn't want to have kids and that he and his fiance weren't going to have kids. And I can't find that statement anywhere, but you know what? That would not surprise me because Logan, you know, he left, he went to graduate school, he just got his MBA. He and his fiance are getting married in October, and they've said they don't want to have kids because Logan had to raise his siblings. It makes me sad that in a world like this, that a father would continue to have children when he can't handle it. They all say that Kody is such a good dad, but is he really a good dad when he's only there like 4 times a week or once a week or twice a week and he's only there for a few hours? Is he really like, does he have a relationship with his kids if he really doesn't see them very often and he relies on his oldest son? And then once his oldest son came and left and a lot of the older kids were older, then who was helping out? As the older kids got older and the family shifted into Vegas and they had more independent households, then the mothers start taking on most of the responsibility. Kody is like the most deadbeat dad, if you ask me. I think if I were Christine, I would sue him for child support. I don't know if she will, but I would if I were her. She might just want to wash her hands of him. But it's interesting to me that in this day and age, a father can be on TV pretending like he is the best thing ever and then have all these older kids that want nothing to do with him. And then none of them want to live the way that they lived. I mean, at least in this case, he's not pulling a Jim Bob Duggar and saying you're shunned from the family. Although we don't know that for sure, I guess. But, at least he's allowing his kids to move out and have a life outside of, their compound in Arkansas. But still, I don't know. Do you think their choice not to follow in the footsteps of polygamy bothers Kody? Or do you think that he's supportive of that? Do you really think this whole idea that they portrayed on TV as live and let live is really what they believe and he believes? Or do you think that part of the reason his relationships are so strained is because he can't control them anymore? What do you think? And what do you think about Paedon's TikTok and his interviews? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.